Yeah. All right. We'll see how much you'll be clapping by the time I get done. I'm going to be talking to you about dating and some of the important aspects that we as Christians should be looking at when it comes to the idea of dating. I want to share one Bible verse with you, and then we'll move on from there. This Bible verse is found in Romans, the 12th chapter. It says this. Paul writes, he says, "Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world." Why does he got to tell us to do that? Because it's really easy to conform to the pattern of the world. The way that everybody around us, people by and large who are not Christians, just our secular culture, they have a way of viewing things, a way of approaching life. And overwhelmingly, it's extremely easy to get caught up in the pattern of the culture around us instead of the biblical pattern. In fact, I would dare argue that the biggest problem that we're having in Christianity today and why so many Christian marriages are failing just like secular marriages is because we are following the pattern of our secular culture instead of following the pattern that God sets for us. I want to talk to you about dating. Now, there's some debate nowadays about dating versus courting. They say, well, dating is just for fun. Courting is for serious, looking for a spouse kind of things. I don't know. To me, it's all kind of semantics. To me, when I talk about dating, I'm talking about courting. I'm talking about when you start spending any kind of serious time with another person, this is supposed to be intentional. That's not to say that, if your mom and dad say it's cool, if you're younger and you want to go out in groups and stuff like that, fine. But by the time you start really starting to spend a lot of time with one person, you are now headed down the path of serious dating. Okay? And the purpose of dating is really simply this: to discover whether or not this person would make a suitable lifetime mate. That's really what it's for. Now, a lot of people don't take dating really seriously. They think it's more about trying to discover your soulmate. Everybody talks about their soulmate and eHarmony.com, helping you find your soulmate. Everybody's looking for their soulmate and all these stupid chick flicks. Have you seen all these flicks? They're all about finding your soulmate. And if you can really find your soulmate, amazing things happen. They'll cross great distances or huge obstacles. Some movies have them crossing time barriers and stuff. All because I need to connect with my soulmate. And there's that one special cosmic being out there just for you. No, there's not. Okay? It is a bunch of hooey. It is just as dumb as a brick. But yet this is exactly what our culture has gotten to, and people today now are desperately trying to find their soulmate. They don't use their brains. They don't use their logic. They don't use the support structure around them. They are trying to use their emotions to see if they can connect with a soulmate. And it's certainly not a biblical concept. Now, the idea comes from Greek mythology. At one time, the Greeks believed, according to their mythology, that human beings had 4 arms, 4 legs, and there's some debate whether or not we had 2 heads or just 1 head with 2 faces, but you get the idea. We kind of look like cockroaches. All right? That was their idea. And then apparently, somewhere along the line, we made some Greek demigod angry, and he came down and he split us in half. And that's how we wound up with 2 arms, 2 legs, and 1 face. And part of our punishment now is we have to search through the world to find our other half. You complete me. That whole scene, all right? Now, it sounds kind of strange, but yet this is what people are basing their relationships on today. Listen, I really don't think at any time we all look like cockroaches. I really don't. And I don't think there's one cosmic person just for you. Sadly, Christians, instead of thinking biblically, this is what I'm talking about letting the pattern of this world change the way that we think. We've taken that stupid idea and then we've spiritualized it. That's where God has one person just for you. Really. Think how ridiculous that is. What we're saying is that God Almighty created another human being just to make you happy. Come on. If that is not the epitome of self-centered, narcissistic thinking, I do not know what is. God did not create another human being just to put a grin on your face. All right? As much as he loves you, you're not the center of the universe, okay? This isn't how these things work. A successful marriage, the truth of it, is not about finding the right person. Now, having said that, you want to find the best you can. All right? Honestly, girls, if he's an axe murderer, move on. But I can change him, I can change. No, you can't. Honestly, if it looks like a skunk, it walks like a skunk, and it smells like a skunk, he's a skunk, for crying out loud. We'll talk more about that in a second. But, you want to find the best you can, but it's not, a successful marriage isn't about finding the right person so much as it is about doing the right things. That's why the Bible never, ever, 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 anywhere talks about trying to find your soulmate, trying to find the one special person. See, because the reason that's so appealing to us is because we think if we find the right person, it'll just be easy. Then it's not on us. It's about finding that right person. It's not because I'm a self-centered, narcissistic slob. It's just because I didn't find my soulmate, okay? Which is ridiculous. The Bible never talks, and the reason the Bible never talks about relationships in those terms is because as Christians, the principles of Christianity that we say we believe in, the principles of love and patience and kindness and forgiveness, these principles are so powerful. They'll work with virtually any two people in the world if they will live by those principles. That's why the Bible says the only thing about, when it comes to marriage is make sure you marry someone who is also a Christian, someone who believes in these principles. Because at the end of the day, if you've been married for a little while and you're starting to drive each other crazy and he's getting on your nerves and she won't shut up, it is those principles that will carry you through. Now here's the big thing that's really messing up people your age today. And it's not your fault. You had nothing to do with it. It's our culture's fault. But it's this idea of adolescence, and not only of adolescence, but of extended adolescence. This is all relatively new. Adolescence, this idea of teenagers, adolescents, you're all supposed to be teenagers, doesn't exist in large parts of the world. It exists in Western culture almost exclusively. And didn't even exist in Western culture until about 90 years ago. And that is this, it's an extension of childhood. They don't want you to quit being children. And they keep treating you like children. In fact, some of you who are so frustrated and you can feel like something's not quite right, and you feel like you just don't fit in between little kids and adults and stuff, it's because you're stuck in this twilight zone that's not really based in reality. And it's this stupid culture that's putting you there. And they don't want you to grow up. Oh, don't grow up. You're teenagers. You're teenagers. You can't do anything. You're not responsible. You're too dumb. You can't do anything. They're always still protecting you. And it was one thing, when I was growing up, you were a teenager from like 13 to 18. Now they're trying to make you a teenager from 13 to 32. And we've created this extended adolescence, and they want you to be a child for as long as possible and not take life seriously. And you got to understand something. If you think like that, everything I talk to you about will not make any sense. Because if you're thinking really that I'm going to have to wait till I'm almost 30 years old before I get serious about dating and finding a spouse and getting married, it's not going to work. This whole idea of delayed marriage, and this is some things that a lot of parents don't even agree with me on. Quite frankly, I don't care. But it's this whole, don't get married too young. Don't get married too young. Wait. You're only 38. Wait. For crying out stinking loud. Everybody's scared to death of marrying too young. It's one of the dumbest things we have going, and it creates an environment where people your age don't take dating seriously because you can't. The world says you can't take it seriously because you have to wait so long. The church tells you, wait till you're almost 30 to get married, but don't have sex. Yeah, how's that working for us? It's ridiculous. And it's creating a disaster. They're telling you, oh, you're too young to commit, too young to commit. I'm telling you, as young men and women, stop listening to this culture. You are not too young to commit. You are young adults. You're not teenagers. You're not adolescent boppy head people. You're human beings. You're young adults. And as I challenge, whether or not the culture around you agrees, I'm telling you, in your own mind, you've got to realize you've got to start taking life seriously. You can grow up. You can start taking life seriously. You can start making decisions that will make sense for you. Too young to commit. What a bunch of nonsense. You know who disproves that every day is the U.S. Army. Right now, in Afghanistan and Iraq, there's guys 18, 19, 21 years of age laying down their lives for one another, giving the greatest amount of commitment a human being can possibly give. Don't tell me people in their teens can't commit. Of course they can commit. The only difference is the Army expects something out of our young people. In fact, they'll kick their butts if they don't. But our culture expects very little. Oh, you're too young, you can't do it, you're too young, la 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 la. And they put it in a situation where, you're in a no-win deal. Especially for guys, most men, your sexual interest peaks at about age 18. And now they're telling you can't do anything about it for another 12 years? Please. And we wonder why so many guys are getting involved in porn, why they're trying to have sex with their girlfriends, why they're not taking life serious. I'm talking Christians who act like this. Because we've created this ridiculous nonsense and told them that, the worst thing you can do is, if you're going to be successful in marriage, is you have to be old enough and you have to have enough money and all that. And I'm telling you, no, you don't. They're lying to you. Marriages do not end because of how young you get married. They do not end because you don't have enough money, and they do not end because you don't have enough education. They end for one reason and one reason only. One or both of them get selfish, straight up. And the idea that people 19, 20, 21 years of age are incapable of making a commitment for life is ludicrous and absurd. As I travel around the country, I promise you, the people who are the most deliriously happy are the ones who got married at 19, 20, 21, 22 years of age, across the board. This whole idea of waiting till you're almost 30 now is a very new idea. Now it seems like all your life, because it's been all your life. It's only been in the last 20, 30 years this idea's been coming along. And look at the results we're getting. How's it working for us? People are having sex, living with each other, delaying, waiting. Christian people waiting, finally getting married. Have so much baggage by the time they finally get married. Their marriages fall apart about 5-6 years in. This culture, even our Christian culture in this area, is messed up. And it's time for a revolution where you start saying, no, enough. I'm not a child, I'm an adult. Dealing with couples, overwhelmingly, the area that they are struggling the most with is this area of sex. You would think, wow, they're finally married, they get to have sex and everything, that everything will be good and groovy and cool, but it's not. And overwhelmingly, it's because of what they did when they were your age. And they picked up stuff that is just a weight on them, and they struggle with it. And I think if parents felt comfortable enough to be really honest with you, you would be stunned at how many of them are really struggling. And again, overwhelmingly, it comes back to what they did when they were your age. But see, it doesn't make sense for me to just be talking to adults 20 years down the road about why they're having such a hard time. It makes more sense to talk to young adults before they go there. So I want to talk to you about this a little bit in this session. Now, sex is a big deal, particularly for most guys. I mean, that's really, guys are we're just wired that way. Particularly by the time we hit age 18, we're just, all this incredible buzz and energy because of all the testosterone flowing through our blood. But what's really, so many people don't understand, guys don't understand, women don't understand, is that men tend to imprint on their first sexual experiences. If a guy's first sexual experience is, in the context of lust or the backseat of the car, is, that whole deal, parents aren't home, ooh, let's go do it, and what the parents. If that's your first sexual experience, you tend to imprint on that, and it tends to identify you sexually for the rest of your life to a large degree. It's absolutely frightening when you think about it. Again, no one talks about this. You should hear it when I talk to people in their 30s and 40s and 50s with tears in their eyes. They say to me, I wish to God someone would have told us this when we were younger. But what happens is you tend to imprint on that thing, and then that becomes your mark for life. And oftentimes guys keep going back to trying to relive that first experience because they imprint on it. It's kind of like these birds. You ever study about these cranes and stuff in school? That they're not the brightest things in the world, but whatever they see first, they think it's their mother, and they'll follow it for the rest of their life. It's like if the crane is born and it sees a chicken, it will ignore its mother and follow the chicken and die. That's why these cranes, they have to go out in the middle of really secluded places and stuff like that. And the people who work with the cranes actually have to dress up like large cranes. I don't know if it's very funny stuff. People walk around in crane outfits and pretending they have big long noses and stuff like that. Because these cranes, not too bright, all right? Because they imprint on whatever, mama, 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 and they don't quite get it. Well, it's kind of that way in a sexual sense, because guys tend to imprint on their first sexual experiences, and it tends to define them. If a guy's first sexual experience is in the idea of messing around and fooling around and lust and, oral sex or whatever different things, he tends to imprint on that. And he tends to imprint more on the sex than the girl. That's why for a lot of guys, the girl becomes virtually interchangeable. I know you girls are like mortified by that. What's the matter with guys? Why, how can they go from one girl to the other? Because it's not about the girl. It's just about the experience. And even guys who eventually get their heads straightened out and grow up and then get married and stuff later in life, they still struggle with those same feelings. And some of them will struggle with them for the rest of their lives. Even great Christian guys in churches and stuff like that, they're still struggling with those internal feelings because they want to keep going back to that place. That's why a lot of guys can't stay faithful in their marriages. What's the matter with these people? Why would they cheat on mom? Why would they do? Because for some of them, it doesn't happen for all of them, but overall, it's a huge percentage. They get so buzzed on that first experience, they are constantly trying to relive that experience. If a guy waits until his wedding day to truly experience sex for the first time, he imprints on the girl. It's why those people who wait have the lowest divorce rates in the world. Now, I talked about those women who just have one partner. They have a 20% divorce rate. If these people really did it right on their wedding day, it drops to 5%. And you don't even have to be a Christian. This is of any culture in the world. Of those who wait, they have a 5% divorce rate. They're the same people, same ideas, same thing. That is the power of the sexual connection. Because now he imprints on the girl. And now that girl becomes his focus. And it's not about any other girl. It's just about that girl that he experiences this with. And he commits to her. And it holds them together for the rest of their lives. It's actually challenging when I talk to adults like this because a lot of them, they start feeling really bad. I'm not trying to make them feel bad. Just at some point, they have to be honest about why they're struggling in their lives. And overwhelmingly, it's because of what they did when they were your age. Making the wrong choices, wrong decisions. I know people often say, well, you shouldn't do it. And your teachers might say, well, you probably shouldn't. Be best if you abstain. But there's this, even in churches, there's almost like this underlying theme that you shouldn't, but it's no big deal if you do, as long as you don't get pregnant or get some STD. And on this DVD series, we talk about STDs and all these different things. But we act like, other than that, it's no big deal. You need to know something. It's a big stinking deal. I don't care if you ever get pregnant. I don't care if you ever get an STD. When you start jumping into this area in life and doing it the wrong way, it makes life harder for you. And the statistics just scream. There's no way you can deny this. Those who are in and out of it and get very sexually active before they get married start having very high divorce rates later on. Even though they think they found their soulmate, even though they've, together with the kids and everything else, and it tends to rot at them and destroy them. And it is ruining people's lives. It is ruining cultures. A lot of you have been touched by some of this stuff. You don't even know the story in the background of why things fell apart in your families. And overwhelmingly, it points to this period of time. But nobody's talking about it. We act like it's no big deal. You shouldn't do it, but it's no big deal. Hey, it's a big deal. You guys, man, you want to do this right. Because it will define how you will approach life for the rest of your life. Overwhelmingly, do it right. You girls, pay attention. Now, women are a little bit different. Girls don't tend to so much imprint on sex as what they tend to learn from sex. And what they learn when they have sex at your age is that sex doesn't mean anything. And then they get married and sex doesn't really mean anything. You would be shocked. The biggest problem, one of the biggest problems in marriages today is that they're having sexless marriages. The wives don't even want to have sex. We deal with it all the time. Women they don't want to have sex. I don't want to have sex. It shouldn't be about sex. Da, 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 da. Where'd they get an attitude like that? Because they had sex at your age.
And they're in and out, and it doesn't mean anything. And, because at your age, it doesn't mean anything. There's no commitment. You might see the guy again. You might never see him again. You might call. You might never call again, And then you pick up and you carry that into your relationship. And it creates a lot of problems. Now, check it out. Science has shown, and again, you can see this on the website where you can go and look at these studies. Fascinating to go and actually take time. Look at these studies. See what it really says, because you'll see studies there that you're not being told about and you won't see anywhere else. But studies show that when a woman has sex, a girl has sex, there's this endorphin or thing that's released in their bloodstream called oxytocin, and they call it the bonding chemical. It's the same chemical that is released in a woman when she breastfeeds. It's kind of a bonding. It's like God knew that releasing this chemical would help bind her to this little rugrat, okay? And she falls in love with this rugrat even though it drives me crazy, okay? And they might cry, you just want to stick it in the garbage sometimes, but they won't do that. Why? They're bonded to this kid for life. This is that bonding chemical. Well, the same chemical is released when they have sex, but here's what they've learned. That a woman's level, every time she has sex with a different person, that it drops. The levels are dropping. That's why you saw the statistics we talked about earlier. One partner, 20%. Second one jumps almost 50%. Third one jumps almost to 60%. Why? Because physically, you're no longer experiencing the same level that sex was intended to be every time you add another partner. Again, nobody talks about this. We all say, well, you shouldn't do it. It's smarter if you don't do it. Protect, wear a condom if you do it. But nobody's talking about the impact this really has. This is becoming a disaster. And now what they're telling us today is, for young people, just masturbate. Yeah, just masturbate. It's a fabulous idea. Just masturbate. And the reason why they're pushing you down this road, by the way, is because this is the same stupid culture that wants you to wait till you're almost 30. So they know you want to have sex. You got to do something. You got to do something. So go masturbate. Go masturbate. Man, Christians, I know pastors who encourage their kids to masturbate. Dear God, I don't know what drugs these guys are on. How they cross that line, I don't understand. Jesus said, if a man looks at another woman and fantasizes sexually about her, he commits adultery in his heart. Well, good grief. If just looking at a woman and thinking dirty thoughts is a sin, what in the world is yanking on yourself, for crying out loud? How do you get to where that's not a sin? But why are people saying this? Why are Christians saying, oh, yeah, you can do it. Just yank on yourself for a while. It'll be fine. Fantasize, look at porn. Yeah, no problem there. No problem. It's like we've lost our minds. Pastors, Christian leaders, some parents. Dear Lord, I have moms come up to me at my seminar saying, well, don't I have to encourage my boys to masturbate? First of all, I can't imagine my mom saying that to me. Man, that would traumatize her for life, wouldn't it? Your mom saying, you need to masturbate. Oh, good Lord, Mom! But why is she saying this? Because she's bought into the stupid ideas that our culture says, well, they got to do something because we don't want them married too early. No. And we get into this stupid culture that is creating a disaster in guys like you, encouraging you to do behavior that is ultimately very negative. And here's the crazy thing about it. You know what really fries me is when they teach you guys, your teacher, some of you talk about this, you certainly see it on MTV and everything. Masturbating, it's great, it's real fabulous, You can achieve an orgasm by masturbating. Listen to me, you can't. You cannot, it's impossible. Something can happen, a guy can ejaculate, something can happen for a girl, but it's not an orgasm. An orgasm is when you reach your sexual peak and endorphins are flooded into your body and every cell in your body stands up and grabs the hand of the cell next to it and goes, hallelujah. You can't get there yanking on yourself. Overwhelmingly, people who masturbate will tell you when they do it, they feel icky. They feel dark. It's your body's way of saying, stupid, what are you doing? Okay? But they're encouraging this behavior. Well, you got to do it. Oh, moms again. Well, if my son doesn't masturbate, won't he explode? You will not explode. You will not die. And don't let them dumb you down like that, especially you guys. We're not animals. You're not going to explode if you don't masturbate, for crying out loud. Especially if you're a Christian, you want to do this stuff right. Don't go down that path. It's insane and it's stupid. And here's what's really frying me. What they're not telling you is the following. Is that you start to condition yourself to that behavior, especially at your age. And when it comes time for you to get married and have sex with a real woman, believe it or not, guys stay more addicted to the masturbating. Unstinking believable. I wish you could see. I wish you could see. I mean, how do you put that on video? Nobody's going to get on video and admit it because it's too embarrassing. Like these conferences, I speak to couples all over the world. And these guys come up to me with their wives. I mean, these gorgeous, drop dead, suck the air out of the room women. And the woman says to me, he doesn't want to have sex with me. And I look at him and think, are you out of your mind? And you know what he says? I'd just rather masturbate. I'd just rather masturbate. Oh, yeah, there's a great idea. See, what they're not telling you guys is that the more you do this, the more you condition your body to that behavior, to the point that guys it's a huge amount of guys now who prefer to make love to themselves with their hands than to make love to a real woman. Well, isn't that great? And then some of you girls are going to marry these losers. And then you're going to wonder why he never wants to have anything to do with you, doesn't want to be nice to you, doesn't want to be romantic to you. Why? Because some stupid moron somewhere told you at your age, yeah, just masturbate. Oh, great idea, masturbate. Unstinking believable. You know, in every other area, we know physically, anything you teach your body to do over and over again, you train your body that way. You guys are in sports. You know what I'm talking about? And you do the same exercises, what? Over and over and over and over again. Why? So that without thinking about it, your body will respond just like that. I don't care if you're in football and you're doing the same drills over and over again. I don't care if you're in track and you're coming out of those blocks over and over again, doing the same exercises over and over and over and over and over and over. And tennis, doing the same stroke over and over again. Why? Because you want to train your body. You keep telling your body to do the right thing at the right time. Your body will do it without thinking about it. Those of you who are musicians, I'm a musician, I'm a piano player. It's one of the things we learn. Guitar player, same thing, any instrument. You practice it over and over and over and over again so without thinking about it, you just sit down and you just do it. Because you've trained your body. Now, how we think that when it comes to sex and encouraging guys to masturbate and look at porn from the time they're your age, some of you guys 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 years of age. Some of you guys get caught up in this behavior, masturbating 2, 3, 5, 7 times a day. Dear God, I don't know where you get the time. Well, you think this isn't going to change your behavior? A lot of girls are into this too. I get it. You think, oh, it's no big deal. It's just something that we're doing until we can get married later. Yeah? You're delusional. That's a drug, by the way. Of course your body's going to respond that way. That's why so many guys today, and sometimes it's the woman. You get married, you think you're going to have a life together, and you're together for a while, and all of a sudden you slip back out. I know guys who prefer to look at porn and masturbate than make love to their own wives. Women who could never have an orgasm with their husbands because they've so trained themselves to do it by themselves with their little hands. Well, isn't that great? Isn't that a wonderful idea? Let's get everybody doing that. Christians. I can't believe some of these pastors encouraging you guys to do this stuff. Like to give these guys a swirly, man. Done this dumb behavior. Why? Again, because they've got to come up with something because they're buying into the stupidity that you got to wait forever. So they got to do something. You have the rest of your lives in front of you. I'm telling you, if you will do this stuff right, it rocks. It is fabulous. Marriage is fabulous. Sex is fantastic. Yeehaw, I love it. But do it right. Don't give a, I mean, how lousy is it? How would you like to be when you're 30, when you're 40? You no longer want to have sex anymore because you've so conditioned yourself to this other behavior. And you girls, talk about the dating process. You find out some guy you're dating is into porn. You get the best tennis shoes you got and run like crazy and get away from him. Oh, it'll be different when we get married. No, it won't. And you, my dear, will be the biggest loser of all. You're the one who will lose out. Because you'll have a guy who's more interested in being a lover to fantasies than being a real lover to you. Any single girl who meets a guy who will admit that he's into porn and stuff, dump that bum ASAP and move on. This is destroying people's lives. People, look, there's a reason why they're out there and they are divorcing left and right. Half of the ones getting married today end up in divorce. And that doesn't mean the other half is happy. It just means they don't want to go through the hassle of getting a divorce. How did we end up this way? Because of the stupid things we're doing. For the love of heaven, let's start doing this thing right. Refuse to be part of this lust culture and this, and they're all saying, oh, it's the key to great sex, lust and fantasize and do all that stuff. You can do oral sex and this kind of sex and that sex. It's not really sex. Hey, if it involves this general area, it's sex. Quit playing this game. The girls your age, a little bit older, dating, who are doing everything under the sun, but technically they're not having intercourse. They're saying, oh, it's not sex. It's sex. It's sex. And then these are the women who think, oh, and then our wedding night, when we really have sex, it'll really mean something. You should hear these women talk. They are so disappointed. On what should be the most wonderful night of their lives, they are so disappointed. Our culture is in trouble. We're on the verge of breeding out of existence in Western culture. There's a video also on the website, a YouTube clip that talks about demographics. You watch this thing, man, it'll shock you. I showed it to a lot of our guys this weekend in church. How many of you saw that thing? Was that creepy or what? It scares you. Western culture, as we know it right now, is in serious trouble. The country that I grew up in, that my parents grew up in, your grandparents, won't be the world you're going to grow up in. And your kid, man, I'm telling you, it's because we're literally breeding ourselves out of existence. Why? Because we're delay. That's why it's hard for you guys to take dating really seriously. Why? Because we set that date of when you can really take it seriously so far in advance, you can't take life seriously. We need to change this. We're in a mess. We need to start changing the way we think. If we start changing the way we think, we'll start changing the results that we get. I want to end with this final scripture. Jesus said this. He says, I tell you the truth. Why did Jesus have to say that? Because people won't believe him. But he said, I'm telling you the truth. Unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it will die, it will produce many seeds. Look, if you try to hang on to everything you want, just based on your emotions and based on your feelings and what you want, I want this and I want that and I want that, and you go into your whole dating process that way and get into a marriage that way, you are headed for a disaster. You will not succeed. The real key is to die to self and to let life birth out of it when you do that. Marriage is about two people getting together and say, you know what, let's build a life together. Be happy. And as Christians, man, let God make you happy. Man, let him be the source of your joy. If you're the kind of person you have to have someone around you or you're miserable, whoa, slow down. You need to get happy in the first place. You're trying to make marriage something that it's not. Best marriages in the world are two people who are already happy, who get together and want to build a life together. They don't need anybody else to make them happy. It's a big trap. The other thing, too, about marriage is it's not about you. Especially as Christians, it's amazing how often is you read in the Bible where Jesus told people they need to die to themselves. He'd tell people, forsake all and follow me. Pick up your cross and follow me. Except a seed fall on the ground and die. It remains alone. Die. God wants to kill the selfish part of you. It's part of the Christian experience. We all have, even if you have God in your heart and you're a wonderful person, you're doing all the right things, there's still a selfish part of you. And God wants to help squish that selfish part of you out. All right? And I tell people all the time, there is no more institution more perfectly designed to kill you than marriage. Particularly the selfish part of you, because you can't do it and stay selfish. The people overwhelmingly who end up in divorce are the ones where one or both of them refused to stop being selfish. See, marriage really only ends for one reason only. One or both of them get selfish, and you can't get there. If you go into marriage thinking this is all about me, what I want, when I want, this person makes me feel good. It's all about feelings. I'm so happy with him now. La, 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 la. And then you start living life and they quit making you happy. You're headed for disaster. Marriage is about finding someone to build a life together with. And that means emotionally, financially. It means about having a family. And it's fab. I'll tell you, if you do it right, marriage can be the closest thing to heaven on earth. You do it wrong, it's the closest thing to hell. And so all you got to do is look at people who've gone through it. It is brutal. It is miserable. What I'm trying to tell you is this cycle of stupidity that you've seen some of your parents going through. Marriage, divorce, marriage, divorce, marriage. At some point, and I'm challenging you, we need to draw a line in the sand and say enough. We need to stop. We can do this. We can do this right. You guys can do this. You, despite the experience of your parents and your grandparents and your cousins and everybody else that are older than you, you can break this cycle. But we got to change the way we think. Quit thinking like and I'll tell you what I'm talking about is very radical. In our culture out there, based on the pattern of this world, everything I just told you is completely insanity to them. But look at the results they have. They're a mess. You want to succeed, you got to start doing this stuff right.